Hey everybody, Greg's still gone, so I'm gonna continue this on and we'll do this another day. So I thought that I would chat about how I met my husband, and we'll just go from there. Give you something to listen to while you're bored in isolation. I have not had good luck with men. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna say anything about my ex-husband because if my kids watch this, that's not fair to them. So I doubt they will. I think they could care less. I have a YouTube channel as long as I don't talk about them too much. I do talk about them occasionally, but not too much. Once I was working, I worked at this job for a year, and somebody came up to me and goes, "Do you have children?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Well, you never talk about them." I'm like, yeah. Sometimes I feel like they have their own life, and if they want it on social media, they'll put it out there. They don't need me doing it. So anyway, so I was married for about 10 years. He was in the military. We moved to Arizona. He got out of the military not long after. He got a divorce. I'm sorry if you can hear that. Our park maintenance guy is cutting the grass. Just went under the window. You probably can't hear it. The fan is more irritating to me, but it's supposed to be like 85 today, so I need some air going on. But anyway, so after we got a divorce, I hooked up with this guy, and we were together another 9 years, another 10 years. I seem to go in 10-year increments with men. I'm not really sure why. It's like, I don't know. It's embarrassing. I guess I have no staying power after 9 years. Or 10 years. Anyway, just kidding, honey. So that relationship was not good, and I always think it's my fault, so I stay too long is what I think is the problem. But anyway, I had decided that I was never going to get married again, that the first one time was enough. So I lived with this guy for a long time, and my parents, being very religious, told me that the reason I was having so much problems was because I was living in sin. So there you go. Was she right? Was she wrong? I don't know. It was my mother. I'm not one to contradict her, but it is what it is. So we broke up, and I moved to Texas because my younger sister lived here, and this was in 2010. And I had the kids go live with their dad, and I was a hot mess. I was just not in a good place. And then my sister and I lived together for a while, and I blamed myself. I was in a bad place. At the time, I was angry with her, but it really wasn't her fault. It was me, and I'm the big enough person to admit it. So anyway, so I had gotten a job at this point, and I rented an apartment. And in the meantime, my dad passed away suddenly, and so it was just, 2010 was just not a great year. I mean, I was seriously unhappy. I thought I made a giant mistake. I had people that I worked with in Texas tell me that maybe I should pack up and go move in with my mother because, um, my dad had just died, and I think back now, and that was a turning point in my life. Maybe I should have gone back to Michigan. It was big decision time, and I didn't go back because I figured, I was 40 something years old by that point. I think I was 42 because I can't do math, so I believe I was 42. And that Christmas, I ended up having to work. When I got out of work, I really wanted to go to church. And at the time, I was dating a man who said he was getting a divorce. Don't actually date a man until they're divorced, just because he said he was getting a divorce, and it ends up he was not getting a divorce. He was still very married, and I was his side hustle, I guess you would call it. So, I was very vulnerable, so of course I sucked it all in. I'm leaving her, blah, blah, blah. So I got out of church, I got out of work, and the only church that was open on Christmas Eve by the time I got out of work was the Catholic Church. And I'm not Catholic, but, I don't think God cares sometimes. And it doesn't matter the church, it matters what's in your heart, right? So anyway, I'm in this midnight mass, and everybody is happy. The church is all decorated pretty, it's a bunch of couples, there's little kids with cute little outfits on. My children were at their dad's house, far, far away from me. My dad had passed away. The relationship I was in was terrible. My sister and I weren't getting along. The only person I really cared about in Texas. And I was in complete misery. And I'm sitting in church, and I'm like, I start praying. I'm like, for Christmas, I want a man. I want a husband. I want a partner. I want somebody. I'm so miserable. I don't want to go back to Michigan. I don't really want to stay here. I think my sister had gone on vacation to Michigan, and that's why I didn't see her that Christmas either. I don't know. I think she was dating somebody in Michigan at the time and having a long distance relationship. But anyway, she was not there. So I'm sitting in this church, which is not even of my own denomination. And this is how miserable I am. I'm just like pleading with God, I'm so depressed. And I'm laughing now because it must have been the most pathetic thing sitting there. I don't, So, if you see people, don't judge them because you really don't know what's going on in their little brain. So, I get out of church after I spilled my guts to God, and quite frankly, I didn't feel better. So anyway, I continued to live in my apartment, and I continued to see the loser guy who said he was getting a divorce. His name was Tim, by the way, in case you're interested. And one day, I was sitting out on my balcony smoking a cigarette. Stop me if you heard this story, because if you heard this story, that's fine. And I saw this guy, and he was like my age, and I'm like, ooh, all right, here's a possibility. Because by this time, I'd figured out Tim was never going to get a divorce. He had it too good. He was getting booty from me and his... Oops, did you see that? They just flipped. He was getting booty from me and money from his wife, so why the heck would, he want to change the situation? He was probably happy as a clam. In fact, I'm sure he was. Anywho, so this is like March. So if you think God answers your prayers right away, he does it in his own time. So anyway, so this good-looking guy is moving in, and he has a son, but he's not a kid. He's like I was trying to figure out whether he was, 18, 19, somewhere in that age group. And my oldest daughter's age, or my only daughter's age at the time. So I'm like, cool, you know. And I found him to be highly attractive. So I just kind of kept hanging out on the porch and made sure whenever he came home to say, hey. And he was like, hi, hi. And then he would just go in on his partner. And so I'm thinking I'm getting nowhere fast with this guy. So his son would sit outside and smoke cigarettes, and I'm like, oh, hey. And he would bum cigarettes off me, and I'm like, okay. That's one thing I really dislike. If you're going to smoke, buy your own cigarettes. Don't be bumming off other people. Can't afford to smoke, you probably shouldn't be smoking. You probably shouldn't be smoking, but you probably should buy your own cigarettes if that's what you're going to do. Anyway, so here's this kid, and I started talking to him, and he said his dad's name was Greg, and that he was looking for a job, which told me something, because the whole time I've known him, he's been looking for a job, but that's neither here nor there. And that his dad was single, never been married, wasn't seeing anybody, and he was working as for an air conditioning company. So I was like, oh, nice. And he was around my age, a little younger, but still in the dateable age range. He was born in '69, and I was born in '68, so totally awesome dateable age range. Because I can go 5 up or 5 down. Anyway, not anymore. I mean, when I was looking, I was 5 up or 5 down. Anyway, so, I would do everything that I could to try and hang out with this man. And, one time I made him supper, and, yeah. So I got rid of Tim, and I concentrated on Greg. And he eventually started hanging out with me, and I was drinking beer at the time. I loved Coors Light when I was drinking beer. I hardly ever drink anymore, so. I was having a Coors Light, and he would come out, and he would drink his beer, and we would hang out and talk. And he said, I thought you were seeing somebody, and I said, I got rid of him. I said, are you seeing anybody? He goes, I was thinking about asking the girl at the liquor store out, but, yeah, I never did. And I said, oh, okay. So one thing led to another, and we were stuck together like glue. And I met his family, and his mother was born in Texas, and his father was born in Louisiana. And the first thing she said when he told her we were getting married is, oh my God, you're marrying a Yankee, which was like, what? I thought it was hilarious because, yeah, I'm not a Yankee, I'm from the Midwest, so. So we decided we wanted, well, let me back up a little bit. So anyway, because we both had 1-bedroom apartments and he had a son living with him, obviously we were hooching around by this point. And he kept staying at my house. And I'm like, oh boy. You know, I already lived with somebody. I don't want to go through this again. You know, I was fine with him coming and going. I was contented in our relationship, so to speak. And so I said to him, listen, you know, I thought I was going to try and not ward him off, but I don't know. I was like, listen, dude, you know, I love you because we were doing the I love you thing. But you just can't keep staying here. I'm not going to do this again. I said, either we get married and or, you know, you stay at your apartment more often because I just got done living with someone. He knew this. And I don't want to do that anymore. And he's like, all of a sudden he started crying, and I'm like, oh my Lord, what did I do? You know, open mouth, insert foot. And he goes, I was going to ask you to marry me, but you beat me to it. And then I started crying. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm such a jerk. And he's like, it's okay. So then the next thing we knew, we were going to get married. Well, his mother and dad vacationed every September on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So we thought, this will be cool. I have a sister who lives in Virginia. My mother can fly down and stay with my sister. And we'll all be happy dandy in North Carolina and get married in the Outer Banks. I don't need anything spectacular. I just want to get married. I love this man. He's a sweet guy. His family is incredible. You know, he's got a job. I love it. You know, I'm not going to have any more bad luck according to my parents because I wasn't going to be living in sin anymore. It's going to be living under the bounds of holy matrimony. So yeah. I know. I'm just telling you how my parents thought the whole time. Yeah. I'm going to switch to a different color. And I need a drink of tea. So, as we were planning our wedding nuptials, lo and behold, a hurricane brewed up in the Gulf. This is normal. You guys get a couple of hurricanes a year, and sometimes they blow by and sometimes they don't. Well, this year they decided not to blow by. So, yeah. And not only did they decide not to blow by, they decided to hit exactly where I wanted to get married. So when there's a bad storm in the Outer Banks, they close the Outer Banks. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Outer Banks are below sea level. I could be wrong, kind of like Louisiana, but it's an island chain off the coast of North Carolina. So if you cannot get out across the bridge to the Outer Banks and they're about to be hit by a hurricane, you are not going to vacation in your rental home, and you are not going to get married on the beach. And so, up until like 10 days before we were supposed to get married, we kept watching the Weather Channel with our fingers crossed, hoping and praying that the hurricane would underlay its way out of there. And she didn't. And my mother-in-law had the nerve to say to me, if you have a baby, you should name your first baby of that hurricane. And I was like, number one, my tubes are tied. Number two, hell no. But anyway, it's besides the point. I need a drink. I'm sorry, y'all. So I was very upset. What did they used to call that bride show where they were crazy? Yeah, I did the crazy bride thing. I was like, I can't believe this. Beep, beep, beep. I'm supposed to be getting married on the beep, beep, beep coast of North Carolina, and there's a blankety blank B2B hurricane, and was I happy? I was not happy. So, my husband's grandmother, who, by the way, is still alive and she's 102, um, and lives with her husband, who is, by the way, 20 years younger than her, and in worse shape. She's in better shape than he is. God bless her, offered her backyard. So I married my husband Greg in a town called Tyler, Texas, which is not too far from Dallas. It's a cute little town. It's not little. It's pretty. It's good size. Um, we honeymooned in the hill country north of San Antonio, where we live. And we went from vineyard to vineyard. And my husband, who told me he didn't like wine, uh, ends up he does like wine. So we had a fantastic time. And that's our story. And I love him dearly. But, you know, as with any relationship, even if you prayed it into existence or whatever, you're going to have problems, and nobody's perfect, and I'm not perfect. And, you know, he had never gotten married, and he liked things the way he liked them. And so I like things the way I like them. And so we had to compromise. And we compromised a lot, and we still do. And I still, people say you shouldn't go to bed angry. Yeah. Um, Sometimes you just need time, because sometimes I'll be really, really angry with him in the morning. I see the situation differently. Whereas if we had stayed up all night arguing about the situation, it probably would have blown up worse. Yeah. And I haven't changed him. I don't want to change him. He is who he is. You know, I love the person who I married, and he hasn't changed all that much. Um, he's a slob, and I'm a clutterbug, so we have problems keeping the house clean. But I'm not messy, but I have like stacks of stuff. Like by the side of my bed, I have a stack of coloring books and a box with colored pencils in it, and some diamond painting stuff and some cross stitch stuff. So, you know, and he's the same way on his side of the bed. You know, he's got his little pile of, you know, junk or whatever, his pocket knife, stuff he collects from work. So my advice out there is, if you're looking for love, um, and you're a praying person, I'd first go to God first and make the request. And then, you know, kind of keep your eyes open and don't expect perfection, because you're never going to find it. If you're expecting a perfect person, it's not going to happen. There are no perfect people. Um, there just isn't. Uh, but you have to set your boundaries and say, this is what I'll put up with, and this is what I won't put up with. And if they're willing to compromise with you and work with you, you can probably end up with a halfway decent relationship. Boy, that sounds really unromantic. We're still married. 10-year itch hasn't kicked in, so I think I did much better this time. So, I think I've babbled on long enough. I may insert another clip of something and then pop this in, but I'll talk to y'all later. Bye. Everybody, I finished. It turned out awesome. I love it so much. The noise you hear in the background is my husband. We're in the midst of a COVID epidemic, a peak, and he's home. Thank God. So yes, she turned out beautifully. Or he, the boy. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. The symbols were a little strange. I don't know why they just can't use ABC 1, 2, 3, but they don't. And this is what Cheryl picked, and it was okay. The only problem I had was on this number, on 3347. On the sheet, it's white, and on my canvas, it was black. I can't show it to you because obviously I filled them all in, but I ended up texting Lizzie and asking. I was pretty sure that's what it was, that the black one on my canvas was this white arrow, so the horseshoe for the omega sign. So yeah, I had lots of ABs, lavender, yellow, cranberry, tangerine, parrot, and then a gold crystal. And I have leftovers of everything, despite my best attempt to spill everything all over the place. Everything has plenty of gems left in. They're good quality gems. I didn't have a lot of trash. I didn't have any problem with it at all. Got lots of everything, so that was good. It was a little confetti heavy for me. I like color blocking. See this 3346, I spilled them, that's why, but I still had enough. And 937, I spilled those too. Yeah, my hands twitch for some weird reason. I'm not really sure. And I had plenty of gems. And it glitters like all get out, so the glitter factor on the gems is spectacular. And when I opened the canvas plopped right down and straightened itself out. So I can't say enough about, the fact that it's a double-sided adhesive canvas. However, it was very easy to work on. If you like confetti, you'll love this one. Confetti is not my favorite, but it's not bad. I did end up putting washi tape on it, which I don't normally do because the glue came out excessively on the edge, but I usually don't even bother with it, but I was starting to get cat hair and stuff in here, probably dog hair. So I put this washi tape on, so. But yes, I think he turned out lovely, lovely. And I'm glad I finished mine in the month of April. And here's the phone number, the website, and the address of the pink raspberry in Canada. ON is Ontario, so it's Canada. But yes, I'm very, very happy, and he's going to go on my wall next Easter. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.